everyone. My name is Brent Barlow, and this is Blue Light Daily, a discussion of relevance and import. We are broadcasting on this Wednesday, January 21st. It is the noon hour, 8 p.m. GMT. Here we honor the importance of public debate and the requirement of civility, the necessity of education and the strength of knowledge, the value of coming together, and the power of collaboration. Before we begin, we pause to reflect and focus on our purpose, breathing in deeply, aligning with intention, dreaming the I'm possible. Assisted by ancestors, powered by providence, rooted in reverence. The words spoken, the path clear, the way cool. Let us build what is worthy. Let us remember the dream forgotten. Let's make some magic together now. Ashe Madase. Today's word of the day is collude. Collude is a verb. My definition, a collaboration among co-conspirators to achieve some objective. Webster says it is to work with others secretly, especially in order to do something illegal or dishonest, often used as a synonym for conspire or plot. The look back, the day in history. On January 21st, 2017, the first full day of Donald Trump's presidency. Hundreds of thousands of people crowd into the U.S. Capitol for the Women's March on Washington, a massive protest in the nation's capital aimed at the Trump administration and the threat it represented to reproductive, civil, and human rights. At the same time, more than 3 million people in cities across the country and around the world held their own simultaneous protests in a global show of support for the resistance movement. It was the largest single-day protest in U.S. history. Also on January 21st, 1793, King Louis XVI of France was executed by guillotine, marking a definitive end to the French monarchy, a radical turn in the French Revolution and sending shockwaves across Europe as it symbolized the overthrow of absolute rule. Convicted of treason, his public beheading solidified the new republic and spurred deeper divisions. His wife, Marie Let Them Eat Cake Antoinette, lost her head 9 months later. Extra credit today. On January 21st, 1977, U.S. President Jimmy Carter granted an unconditional pardon to hundreds of thousands of men who evaded the draft during the Vietnam War. Our quote of the day today is from Jack Nicklaus, famous golfer, born January 21st, 1940 in Columbus, Ohio. Quote, "Sometime the biggest problem is in your head. You've got to believe you can play a shot instead of wondering where your next bad shot is coming from." Ladies and gentlemen, this broadcast is intended to serve as a platform to talk, share, learn, and grow. At Labella B, we are coming together to play our shot, baby, recognizing all of the collusion currently perpetrated by our leaders. We will not lose our head, but we will come together in community to create a world worthy of our children. And so here I speak directly and honestly, sharing a vision for a world secure for generations to come. Issues of concern across the globe grow so numerous that we've become desensitized. Matters fester. Some see the moment as opportunity, and while greed, glut predominate, power and wealth continue to coalesce in the hands of the few, there are those who desire a better outcome, who have a tremendous capacity for good, and who are ready to take back some control. Friends, we can either continue accepting more of the same, or we can make different choices and take collective action. And so I offer my take on current conditions and where I think things are headed. Question is, what do I got to do? Point of personal privilege. We are still in our alt studio, Eastern Sierras, obviously. I am just struggling mightily, man. For those of you who are checking in on my physical well-being and my mental health, man, my I'm pretty sure all of my issues are psychosomatic, are caused by my head and the stress that I'm experiencing. But complain not, for no one gives a shit. We're going to continue talking about what's going on right now. As I've said, with only 3 years until the election, no matter what is being done, it needs to be done faster, harder, better, more coordinatedly. And, you know, the craziness that's been going on, I've talked about a few things of late. And on this 1-year anniversary of Trump's second term in office, I'm going to present some discussion around Project 2025. And you maybe have heard about it. You maybe don't know what it is. And right here, we're going to just give a very broad, high-level overview of it. But I have tried to explain that what is happening right now politically in the United States is a complete changing of priorities and shifting of so many traditional hallmarks of what the United States has meant to the world. And everything has been telegraphed. I've said that, you know, before. The document, Project 2025, is a massive, almost over 900 pages, produced by the Heritage Foundation and its allied conservative organizations. And essentially, despite anything that anyone has said, including the Don, about it's this, it's that, it's what it is, no matter how you slice it, it is it calls itself a mandate for leadership. It's a blueprint to execute a strategy. It's a playbook, a manual. It is specific instructions for the various players, the conservative movement, if you will. It's not a campaign platform. It's not an ideological essay. It's an operational manual. Its core purpose is to rapidly seize control of the federal executive branch, to replace anyone who's even neutral, let alone a career federal employee. But it replaces neutral and career governance norms with ideological loyalty. Everybody has to be loyal. It dismantles the modern administrative state, all the things that we've done over these many years, you know, starting with the Civil Rights Act. It is essentially dismantling everything that the government is doing right now, reorienting U.S. government toward a hardline social conservative nationalist framework. I talked about how a party in power controlling the executive and the legislative has the ability to affect the third branch, the judicial, and how that can create a long-term social impact. Everything we're seeing here in this action is extremely well coordinated, organized, and it has been effectively carried out. The one wild card is the Don. He disclaimed any knowledge of it. I haven't read it. I don't want to know it about it before he was elected. but it was written for him. Let's just call it the way it is. It calls for a bully. It calls for a guy who sees the world one specific way and wants to impose that way of thinking on everyone else. Now, I guess before I get too into it, just to compare the two POVs, the two perspectives. When focused on social issues, people become very passionate, whether it is the right to control myself or my family, my economic well-being, not in my backyard, fill in any category. The reality is that people want to be comfortable, confident, and secure. And the fear that is being driven, or the fear that is driving, in my opinion, this systematic weaponization of the federal government and what the United States is and has been and represents to the world is unhealthy. It is creating instability. And as I've continued to repeat, has been extraordinarily effective. The four core promises of this Project 2025 include a restoration of traditional family and control culture, explicitly attacking LGBTQ plus rights and protections, gender identity recognition, abortion access, pornography, calling for criminalization and imprisonment for pornography, the dismantling, as I said before, of the administrative state, treating federal agencies as illegitimate power centers. Despite all the good that many of these agencies do, the services that are delivered and relied upon by so many folks, basically what this category includes is an argument that Congress and bureaucrats have stolen the authority of the president, that the president's power has been diluted by all these people who are doing jobs. And I'll remind you that this comes out of during his first term, one of the things that he was so pissed off about was how he had traitors all around him. He demanded loyalty. Let's just highlight James Comey for a minute and the loyalty dinner that they had. He demands it of everyone. He is a bully. So, in dismantling the administrative state, this document essentially reclassifies employees to allow for termination for ideological noncompliance. This loyalty thing basically elevates, and the Supreme Court has helped the Don, elevates the authority of the executive. It's about control, baby, not about effectiveness or efficiency. 3, it asserts a national sovereignty through aggression. We're seeing this all around the world. We're seeing it in Davos right now, Venezuela, Iran, Gaza. This policy includes a zero tolerance for immigration. The enforcement we've seen, this gal named Good and all the craziness that's going on in Minnesota, framing these global institutions like the UN and these global, the climate treaty I'm thinking of, but these treaties, these NGOs as enemies of sovereignty, like we can't get ours. It's a zero-sum game. It is a nationalistic siege state worldview. It is the Don being crazy. 4, it redefines liberty as obedience to a moral order. It is setting a moral standard, rejecting a pluralistic liberal democracy where every person is entitled to the respect of their personhood, should be given opportunities to be the best person they can be, treats socialism progressivism, I guess, wokeism. Woke is bad. These are all from the perspective of Project 2025 as threats to civility, to civilization. This plan, which they put in writing and put out there and are executing so effectively, so professionally, they learned so much from the first go around, and the director of the Heritage Foundation prior to the election basically said, we're gonna assemble an army of loyal Christian conservatives. And the biggest issue is the legacy that is being created. Okay. This is not policymaking in response to an issue that most people in a democracy feel is important. As a matter of fact, when this first thing was floated, and the main reason that the Don distanced himself from it was public reaction to the document was, this is bullshit. But I'll tell you, the bottom line is that it is a movement-aligned instruction manual for reshaping the U.S. government into a tightly controlled, ideologically consistent executive state. I guess insert here fascism, which is why so many people continually refer to the Don as a fascist. But hey, labels are squat. All I can do is measure the actions. So he can tell me he hasn't read it, doesn't approve of it, but his actions speak volumes. Now, there are certainly some collateral issues and some things that we can get into about the Heritage Foundation, the overall conservative movement, who the likely successors will be. Right now, JD is out there, Marco is out there, there's a couple of others, but no one really has the force of personality. No one is quite the brutish bully that the Don is. So the likelihood that there will be someone capable of leading with the level of arrogance and ego and be as effective as the Don's been, I don't see that. But even if JD were to be elected, for example, his traditional Catholic values align with this document and all that's being done, and even more and more so. As point of information, as an example, the Don doesn't listen to anyone because it's his morality and his brain that informs his actions. But I'll tell you what, the cement is hardening, and there is a line of cement trucks waiting to dump more cement into this shit. And the longer this situation continues, the harder it will be for the United States to pull out of this nosedive. And I mentioned last week about empires and where we are in this moment and the fragile nature of things. Again, history is replete with challenges that empires and peoples got through. However, all of the indicators right now are scary and dangerous. And again, all I can do is bang the drum and say, hey, folks, there's only 3 years to the election. Ladies and gentlemen, again, this is a call to action, a call to those who feel the same and recognize the urgency of this moment. I like to think of us as an assemblage of the aligned, those who are willing to accept personal responsibility. It's an invitation to join the forces of good. I'll say I recognize that everybody's got an opinion, and just like hindquarters, they all stink. But to compare and contrast, I'm open-minded, I'm informed, relatively intelligent, and the Don is a maniac. He is insane. He is a crotch-grabbing, unapologetic bully. And again, bam, 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 bam. I'm one guy offering my opinion, trying to ring the bell and be loud, folks. Anyway, this is going to be the last broadcast from the Alt Studio Eastern Sierra. This week, we'll be returning to our home studio tomorrow. I remain available, and again, so grateful for everyone that's reached out. The love and support means so much to me because it can be overwhelming, and the reaching out is a tangible form showing demonstration of you care, I care, we care, and no one has to do it alone. So we help each other. Folks, you get to choose who you are. You get to decide. Never let anyone tell you differently. And in the immortal words of Charles Schulz, it's fun to have fun, but you've got to know how, which is what we aims for around here. To thine own self be true. Opportunity, folks, lay everywhere. Steal like Picasso. In our community at La Bella Beat, we are reclaiming our sovereignty. Democratize, decentralize, where aligned individuals collaborate to create a world worthy of our children. Information can be found at labellab.com. It's time to take action, folks. No one will do it for us. If you choose not to decide, you still have made a choice. We're doing it. You're invited to join the party, baby. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, comment. Be well. God bless. Peace.